friends. Welcome back to Midlife Group Chat. We've got a lot of random stuff to talk about today, so hopefully some of it will be interesting or at least entertaining to you. Be sure to follow us so you don't miss an episode.
And there are a few things we want to talk about that require an expert and someone who knows more than we do. So if you're an expert on anything we're talking about and want to be a guest, please reach out to us at midlifegroupchat@gmail.com.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Lori, tell us what you've been up to lately.
So if you can't tell, I am still in California at Chris's house, which I love. I'd love to move in forever. It would be great. So I'm still here, so we're just still hanging out. I'm gonna be going to Oregon, like I mentioned, for my niece's birthday. So what have you been up to?
I am, let's see, what am I up to these days? So one of the things that we've talked about a little bit that I wanted to ask you more about is you mentioned that your flights keep getting delayed from the East Coast, and I fly a lot out of the West Coast, and I haven't really experienced that. I don't know if it's just my airlines or my travel or whatever. And then someone else was saying they fly from the West Coast and they never have delays. So tell us what's going on with you and your flights.
I do not know. So I do live in a smaller area, so we only have two choices. It's either Delta or American Airlines. And so from where I live, we have to make a connection either through Atlanta if you're flying Delta, obviously, or through Charlotte if you're flying American. And it hasn't really been one airline over the other. And we don't have particularly crazy weather, but it's so inconsistent. I've had flights delayed and canceled out of Augusta. So I don't think it really matters that I'm going to those places and sometimes it happens from Augusta with weird reasons. So they'll say weather, but there's no weather. And the flights to both of those cities are very short. So I've had a situation actually where I was listening to, again, I go to a small airport where one of the um, desk ladies was like, they keep saying it's weather, but so and so didn't show up. So it is very dependent on whoever is based out of Augusta or so because I do tend to fly
Like the
first thing in the
flight
morning.
crew, or do you mean like
Yeah,
who
the
doesn't
flight
show up?
crew who doesn't show up. And so she was saying it was a steward, like one of the stewards didn't show up. And so they couldn't take off because they have to have a certain number of pilots, obviously, and then a certain number of crew. So that has happened quite a bit where my flight was entirely canceled. But they don't tell you until you're sitting there. So I was trying to get to the West Coast. I was trying to get to Tahoe over the summer, and 3 days in a row, the flight was canceled. The other problem is, I think you and I have talked about this before. It's like you have to be really careful with that connection time because if it gets delayed too much, then you can't catch the next flight out of Atlanta. And you would think, okay, Atlanta's huge, but the rolling effect of one or two or three flights getting canceled means that usually you can't get to where you're going. So I don't know, it's been very consistent. So even coming here, I gave myself a buffer between the flights and they said there was weather. So we lined up. There was 15 planes in a row. So the pilot comes on and says, we're 15 in line. There's weather outside of Atlanta. And now this time it was real weather because it rolled in and I have never sat in on the tarmac with that much crazy weather. Like it was blowing the plane. So I was like, okay, they're not lying. It's weather, whatever. Um, and then we sat there so long that the pilot came on and said, we've been on the tarmac for 2 hours, so we need to go back to the gate and we don't know what we're going to do. So they took us back, and because I guess the pilots have a limitation of how long they can be flying, or maybe those pilots had come from somewhere else. I don't really know. They don't tell you all the details, they just tell you enough to not totally piss you off. So they deboarded us, and luckily they did find some additional pilots. But again, like the rolling effect of one plane not taking off, it's like who else was sitting on the tarmac for because at one point he got on and said there were 80 planes. So I don't know, but I've had other situations where they're like, something is happening and we need to reboot this thing. And then they make us sit there and nothing seems to happen. And then they reboot it, but it delays you like 45 minutes. So I'm not going to pretend to understand airline stuff, but it always seems like Atlanta and Charlotte are crazy. And I told you guys the story the other day. I actually had a direct flight from Reagan to Augusta, which is not often that you get the direct flight. Like I said, we almost always have to take that connector. And I could see the Augusta airport. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And they said they were diverting because it was closed. But we were close enough to the airport where people could use their phones to call the people that were waiting to pick them up because we were like no time out at all. And they turned the plane around and took us to Charlotte and made us stay the night in Charlotte, which we didn't even come from Charlotte. And they said it was because the plane was closed because of the hurricane that had happened like a month earlier. We're like, we all came out of the airport. We know it wasn't closed. So just like weird stuff. I don't know. It's like it's one of those black box things where you're like, why are you delaying me? Why are you doing this? You're causing, not only are they causing money to themselves, but they're causing you money. Like in some cases, when I was trying to go to Tahoe, I did get on the second flight because my daughter drove me all the way to Atlanta. But the only reason I didn't lose my reservations for the hotel I was staying at in Tahoe is because my sister was going and she made it in. And so she actually stayed alone the first night. And so I didn't lose my reservations because sometimes if you don't show up for the first day, you lose everything. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, you and a couple other people have said they've had no issues and they travel all the time and it's so efficient. We talked a
It
little
must be
bit,
weather. Like this,
but
us
it's
West
not
Coast people
really
have gorgeous
weather.
weather.
You do have gorgeous weather, but maybe there's just more efficiency built into it. I don't know, but it's like, I don't know. So I am curious from listeners if anybody is out there listening to this and you know why. It isn't like onesie twosies. I fly a lot. Like last year, I flew, I'm going to count it up and figure it out and I'll share it again in another thing. But it was pretty much like 80% of my flights were not on time. And it was a lot of flights. So, and I count each leg, right? So I don't know. I'm curious about that. Like why I have such negative experience of it. It's like almost a running joke when I travel for work. They're like, "What happened with your flight this time?" I'm like, "I don't know." So anyway, I don't know. I don't know
Okay,
much
well,
about.
since last week or the last episode when we talked about positive thinking, we are going to plan on some
Yes.
very perfectly on time flights for you going
Yes.
forward, and you
Positivity.
are going to get
Yes.
where you
Thank you
need
for
to be
keeping
on
me
time.
accountable. Yes. The flights are going to be manifesting and positive thinking. Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. So another thing that we talked about because, we did this hot chocolate run a
Yeah.
couple days ago and we've been snacking. I've got tons of
Yes.
snacks in my house and candy all the time. It's kind of my thing that I love. And we had donuts this morning. It's been a snacky day. But you have tried some new snacks that are interesting. I enjoyed them too, but I wanted
Yes.
to get your take on what you think about them.
I have
Okay, let's
visuals
see.
prepared. So these are the snacks. Let's see. Can you see?
Yeah, edamame beans.
And there's this flavor, which is sea salt, and there is this flavor, which is ranch.
Ranch.
And if you are a ranch lover, these are very delicious. So they're very interesting. One thing I am going to talk to you about, I want to know what your thoughts on this in a second, but surprise topic. There is 11 grams of protein in here. And it's not like so overwhelming to eat it. It's like a pretty easy, kind of delicious snack. And I'm a texture person, so I really like the texture of these. They remind me of, we talked a little bit about
I
this.
so they remind me of something. I don't want to bias your
So
opinion.
I've had something similar to this, but it was not an edamame. They had a Trader Joe's. Was it? I don't know. You know those Asian snacks that you get that are like their version of like a Chex Mix?
Like a
There's a
rice
Yeah, like
cracker
rices
and
and
stuff.
stuff in that, like one that has like a lot of stuff. There's something in there that
Well, it's
reminds me
probably
of this.
edamame.
You think, oh,
I mean, probably,
maybe,
right?
yeah, maybe we'll have to investigate that. But I do really like it, and I know what you were going to say, so go ahead and say what you think it
Yeah.
tastes like.
So I think they taste like sunflower seeds, like a kind of a big hollow sunflower seed.
Oh, so I was going to say corn nuts.
Okay,
So,
and that, yeah,
but like a lighter version of a corn nut. So corn nuts are very, like over time, they're harder to eat, right? Like they're
yeah,
very,
yeah,
so this is almost like a skinny shelled corn nut.
yeah.
So I
It's
do like
easy
it.
to pop.
Yeah. And I love the fact that it has only 2 grams of carbs and 11 grams of protein. And that's the topic I was going to talk to you about. So,
Okay, protein.
protein, yes. So the other thing that I have been doing, and I've been trying to super be cautious of or conscientious of it, is my amount of protein. And again, for our listeners, we are not experts. We are readers and consumers of information, and then we apply it as we see fit. So I'm not quoting anybody, I'm not saying anything. Multiple sources that I believe are authoritative have told me that you should eat your half of your body weight in protein a day. And then, of course, you hear all the controversy of this and that. So do I know if it's working? I don't know. But I do try to do Pilates a lot. And I'm really trying to, especially since I'm perimenopausal, I am trying to be conscientious of my protein for a couple of reasons that I think make sense medically. That as you get older, your bones, as women during menopause, we lose bone density, things like that. So I'm trying to be conscientious of it. But if you try to just eat meat, straight meat, as many grams of protein as I have to eat as
That's
a
a lot.
not
Yeah,
tiny
50,
woman.
70,
It's a
100 grams. I
lot.
mean, that
And
is
like we,
crazy.
yeah, like on our last podcast when we talked about cooking, like I also don't love to cook tons of chicken and eat the same chicken every day. So I love when I find something that is like 11 grams is a lot of grams of protein in something that's like easy to eat when you're like watching a show or and we do not sponsor this. This is this product is we are not sponsored. It's just something that I think I'm going to introduce because I am a snacky person. So what I want to know is, do you do this protein thing? Am I like a lunatic? Like, do you buy into this? We have not actually talked about this, I don't think in person, not to my recollection. Like, do you think about your protein during the day? Do you try to get some amount of protein? Like, what are your thoughts?
I do not. Well, okay. So throughout my life, I've been very food conscious because I've always had weight issues and it's always been on my mind. And so either I've been on a diet and I've known every single speck of calories that's going into my mouth, or I'm
Yes.
not on a diet. Like it's kind of one extreme or the other. And so right now, I am not watching anything. I'm just kind of eating anything I want. Um, and I am not thinking about protein at all. Like
Okay.
I should be. I mean, definitely. And I don't expect to, I mean, unless my doctor for some reason looked at my blood work and said, or my bone density or something like that, and said, you
Hmm.
need to have a certain number of grams per day, I don't think I would ever get to like 40, 40 or even 50 grams per
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah.
that's too much for me. But I do eat meat daily for sure.
Hmm.
I don't eat as many eggs as I would like. So pretty much my protein sources are cheese and meat and mostly chicken, but certainly beef. Sometimes, and probably once a week, we have beef, and the rest of the time we have chicken. And so I probably am getting a pretty tiny percentage of maybe what I should be getting.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. Finding other protein sources, plant proteins is smart and a
Hmm.
lot easier than trying to eat 11 grams of protein from chicken. I don't know how much chicken that would be, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, it's not something I
Interesting.
think about, but I probably should. And at some point, I will probably need to. So
Yes. Interesting. Okay. Maybe one day we will have a little somebody expert on this because I am curious. Like again, there's so much data out there about this stuff and like what you should and should not be eating. And the other thing is like I talked about in a previous episode is that I do have an autoimmune and the right kind of protein and the right kind of thing that will give me the vitamins that I need because when you have an autoimmune, you are many times deficient in something. In my case, like iron is a big one. And so that would be something I would get from red meat. But I'm not a big red meat eater. If you remember, I was a vegetarian for a very long time and didn't eat red meat. like at all. And so I was always like a little anemic, and now I still tend to be anemic, but now for a different reason because I don't, I'm not autoimmune. So I don't know, I'm so curious. I keep doing it because I've heard a lot of, like I said, not just one authoritative source, like source after source about it. And so I'm trying to do it. And I'm also trying to be conscientious of, we'll talk about like what we're learning. I might add this to our little list, but I think one thing I'm going to try to do is keep track of how I feel when I meet my protein goals. And does that influence like my exercise and my recovery and things like that? Again, not that I am some prime athlete. I am not. I just try to move every day, and Pilates is like, and we can talk about Pilates in another session because I am in my Pilates era. But what that really means, like the recovery and things like that. So interesting to be discussed further
Yes.
later. Yes, yes.
I don't know when you last had blood work done. I think for me, it's probably been at least 6 or 8 months or something like that. So next time I get blood work done, I will ask, do they check calcium through your blood? How do you check calcium, like bone density and stuff? How do
That
you
is a
do that?
great question. I don't know. I do get labs taken a lot because I'm seen by every specialist under the sun since the accident. Um, so I'm going to ask too next time I go because if like whoever goes first, we should
Yeah,
ask.
yeah.
Like, and then the other thing I was thinking about, you were talking about it the other day, not on our podcast, but we were talking about it. Um, I also want to have a panel done like of my hormones and things like that. I think I need to go and really dig in to some of that stuff too.
Yeah, totally agree. No, I think that that's really important, and we should definitely dig into that
Yeah.
um, deeper. There's so many things that we need to be
Yes,
tracking.
yes, yes. In this, at this stage in our life, so many things. Yes.
So many things. Okay. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about while we are on planes a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, have you ever flown Frontier Airlines?
No. So the bottom line is, I don't think I have ever actually flown Frontier. No. Yes. So what is go? You go. You have you?
I have not.
Oh.
Okay, no, but I have a whole point here.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so the reason I ask is because I don't know how I came across it, but Frontier offers this thing called a Go Wild Pass, and it
Okay.
is literally an all you can fly free pass. And you would think that if you're gonna buy a pass to have unlimited flights for over a year,
Mhm.
I think it's good through April of 2027. So depending on when you buy it, that's over a year of free flights anywhere they go. You would think this is going to be like millions of dollars, right? Tons of money. It's $350 and you can fly anywhere that they go. And there are some blackout periods. There's a handful of like
Mhm.
holiday weekends and things like that that are not on it. And I think the catch is that it's almost like standby. So you get, I think, just like by quickly reading their website, your
Mhm.
confirmation is like the day before your flight. So if you're flying out Friday, you've got like a confirmed seat on Thursday. So it's possible that if they had a bunch of, fully priced paying customers, you would not get on that and you'd maybe have to be bumped or whatever.
Yeah.
But for I was, I'm really fascinated by this because for people who want to travel or who do have to travel a lot, and they are in locations where Frontier flies, because I looked at the list, they actually fly a lot of places, including I think Atlanta, although I don't remember for sure, but like
Mhm.
Las Vegas, Portland, some of the areas by me, like lots of places that I potentially would go.
Mhm.
But I'm a little leery. Like, there's a few things. I'll just be
Mhm.
completely honest. Like, number one, it's sort of like going to a discount brain surgeon. Like there's some things you don't want to get the bargain on. You don't want
Yeah.
the coupon LASIK eye surgeon,
Yes.
right? Do you want the coupon airline? Like, is that safe? Are they like desperate? Is that why it's so cheap? Or is it they just often have empty seats and they want to fill them, which is fair if that's what it is. Um, so I've been leery. I probably will not purchase this Go Wild pass, but I do love the idea of it, and especially for people who either have to fly a lot, just because of family or for whatever reasons, or they want to explore
Right.
and they don't have a big budget. 350, I mean, that's a cheap one flight to one destination. So if you can get 5 or 10 or 50 trips out of that, I mean, that's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. Now, I think they probably still charge some taxes maybe for each flight, or and I think Frontier is one of these nickel and dime kind of places where
Mhm.
you know, if you want overhead storage, you have to pay more, and if you want a water, you have to pay more. I don't know for sure because I've never flown them, but I think that that's one of the things. Um, so, you know, it's not going to be a luxury vacation or anything, but yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. What do you think about these like kind of discount air flight
Yes.
places?
So I totally agree with you. There are some things you do not want to discount on. My questions are similar to yours, like, why are they doing it? And you've always heard weird stuff about Frontier flights, but like you're saying, if you have flexibility and you're like, I really want to travel, but it's so unattainable, because I will say tickets have been crazy. So if you're like flexible in your flying, and you're like, I want to travel, but it's been so unattainable. This would be something very realistic, and I'm curious how successful it will be. The other thing is, I would definitely, like you said, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like, if you book your hotel and then they don't put you on the flight and you think you're going, and does that mean every leg of it you could be bumped off of?
Yeah, it sounds like it's almost like flying standby, like if you were an airline employee or something, like,
Right.
you can still get to where you're going, but it might not be, this
It
one you
might
might
be
have to
not
wait,
efficient.
and
Yeah,
then you
like
might
might
have to
be,
wait, and you might
yeah.
have to wait, and it might be,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it sounds like if you're like, I just want to travel to, like, just getting a singular flight to somewhere and trying it out. I mean, your investment is so low. And if you're like, I hate it, like you said,
Exactly.
that's like the same as a flight ticket in other airlines. So, hmm, interesting. I am curious too, because my daughter travels a lot. She's always driving everywhere. She drives that car everywhere. And I'm thinking, if she had this, would this be better? And she could just hop on a flight. Well, like I said, we don't have it out of Augusta, but if it's out of Atlanta, if
I
she just had
think
to drive
Atlanta, yeah,
there,
I'll have to check
or if
this.
she could just drive to, like, she has lots of friends all over sort of that southeast area. If she could drive somewhere and leave her car at a friend's house and
Yeah.
then take that trip, like, just jump on a flight instead, that would be much better. So I might actually explore this for her. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I
it
definitely see it
is.
as a good gift for, like, a college student, maybe someone right out of high
Yeah,
school, or,
yeah,
um, yeah, somebody, like you said, who has the flexibility to maybe work anywhere, and
yeah.
so they
So
can
if they
just,
get stuck, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
yeah, wherever they happen to be, and they can do stuff, or maybe someone even for companies that, like, have salespeople, I mean, I guess they need a little bit more stability than that, but,
Yeah, like, that they're
um,
gonna get there, yeah.
yeah. But anyways, it's just something that I came across, and I just think is very fascinating, and
Yes, yes,
if anybody has used this or does use it, please let us know how it goes and if you would recommend
yes.
it, because I'm certainly open to it for sure. Um,
Interesting.
all right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. One other thing that we talked about is you mentioned the Swedish death cleaning. I think we've mentioned
Yes.
it before, but can you tell us a little bit more about it and what your thoughts are?
Yes. So, this came up somebody recommended this book to me because I am trying to do a lot of purging, because, like I've mentioned in other things, I wanna move, and so trying to downsize, and then it brought up, like, a bunch of different conversations, and I do wanna get your insights on that too. But what is Swedish death cleaning? So they call it, I am gonna butcher this, but, like, dostagning, and it's like a decluttering practice focused on removing unnecessary belongings before death to spare loved ones the burden. And the Swedish actually, like, do this throughout their life. So they try to not buy in excess. So it's being thoughtful, like, it's thoughtful downsizing and creating space for a simpler life, so that later on, you don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about it. Um, it was made popular by somebody called Margareta Magnusson. So I know the name is very morbid, like Swedish death cleaning, but it actually isn't supposed to be like that. It's about, like, reflecting on your life through your possessions and deciding what's significant, what matters. And like, again, the other thing is included in this is making sure, and I definitely want you to talk about this, organizing important documents so that if God forbid something happens to you, your family doesn't have to like pick up your phone and put it on your face and hope they find your all of your accounts. I mean, again, it's not great to think about this, but in this stage in our life, we do have to think about things like this, not only for ourselves, but maybe if you're lucky enough to have your parents around. And so that's kind of the basic like fundamentals of it, but I did pull out like the key principles. So these are the things that it emphasizes. Generosity. So you're giving your loved ones the gift of less to sort through. So I'm going to put a pin on something about my mom. Meaningful curation. So decide who gets your most cherished items and what happens to the rest. And again, this isn't necessarily, they're not saying like when you're on your deathbed. They're saying like as you're going through life, are there things that you cherish? And like really being thoughtful about who would get them. Start early, begin at any age, but often suggested around 65. But again, the Swedish kind of think like this, they're minimalist in their general life in general, so that this is not a big old process. And then include paperwork, so don't forget financial and important documents. And you want to make sure they're organized for your family. So I was thinking a lot about this, and again, not only because I'm downsizing my stuff because I would like to move essentially, but my mom is always talking about like this is the stuff you guys are going to get, and I'm thinking I don't want that stuff. Like I don't you don't even use that stuff. You're holding on to it so I can have that stuff. And then I had a conversation with my kids, and my kids definitely don't want that stuff. So I realized too, and I'm curious from our listeners, I'm curious from you if you've had this conversation with your kids. My kids have like very little sentimentality. They don't really want anything. Like all these things I have thought were cherished items, they're like, we're not going to use this or want it. And if we have kids, we would never give them that. So it's all kind of tied together with like, why do we why do we save this stuff? Should we all be doing Swedish death cleaning? Like, why do we have so much tchotchkes and crap around the house? And like, why are we I was trying to sit and really think like, why do I have sentimentality about this? And I know you and I like 10 years ago talked a lot about Marie Kondo and like does it spark joy? I think this is all in alignment with that. Like, do you need it? Why do you have it? And in another future episode, make a note of this if you don't mind. I want to talk about like, I was reading something about when your space is decluttered, it allows you to like be calm and like be creative. I don't know. I know there's going to be, this is controversial because there's a lot of people who are very, like my daughter who's very artsy, but she's a minimalist artsy, but she does like to have stuff around her house. So out of all that mouth vomit that I just did, like, what do you think about this? Do your boys have sentimentality? Why do you think we store all this crap? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so, I didn't read the book, but I watched the TV show. So this was,
Okay.
like, on Netflix or something 5 years ago, kind of around the same Marie Kondo
Yeah.
home edit time frame. There was the Swedish death cleaning. I really, really liked it. There were these, Swedish people, I guess, that kinda came from house to house and sort of went through all their stuff, and for me, what I really liked about it was removing the burden on making other people deal with your stuff. And part of it is because I had just done that with my mother-in-law. When she passed, she left her entire house. It was unexpected. So, like, the food that she was eating was still on her coffee table. Like, it was like, every single thing, nothing had been prepared, right? Because we didn't expect it to happen. And so, there were so many things that I think my husband felt an obligation to keep because like, by getting rid of it, it meant he didn't love his mom or his grandma or his dad or, like, whoever had passed
Mhm.
it on, and so but that's, not real, right? I mean, you keep the things that you want because, like you said, they bring you joy, and I definitely don't want my kids to feel like they have to keep my favorite pillow or else they didn't love me, or,
Hmm.
like they don't care about me if they don't use the same lamps that I liked or whatever, like
Hmm.
dumb things like that. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. And so I have tried to be very clear in, you know, with my husband, with my mom, that this stuff, we're not saving it. This is not special. There's nothing, this bowl, just because we've had it for a long time, maybe it was grandma's bowl, doesn't mean that it's grandma, right? Like, it doesn't
Right.
all have
Right.
to connect. And so, if I, if I don't want it, I'm not going to keep it. And I'm not going to force my kids to do it. So I think that it is for me something that I like. It's a conscious thing to not set these expectations. The other difference between us is that I have boys. So I don't think I ever really expected my boys to be sentimental. I think with
Mm-hmm.
girls we sort of expect or anticipate that they will want some of this stuff. They'll want the
Hmm.
wedding dress, or they'll want the baby
Hmm.
blankets, or I don't know, like we kind of have these ideas that they might want to keep some of that, and maybe they do in some cases, but I never really had the expectation that they would want most of it. I literally have one box
Hmm.
for each of the boys, and those are their keepsakes from growing up. And I have like
Hmm.
the handful of like certificates or the good and the bad report cards. I mean, I've
Hmm.
kept a lot of the report cards and like the cute
Hmm.
little notes and stuff like that. But that's it. Like if it doesn't fit in this
Hmm.
box, it's probably not going to make the
Hmm.
cut. I don't know that they're ever going to take this box into their new house
Hmm.
when they're 40 years old and have their own kids.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but I'll keep it, and if they want it, great, and if they don't, that's okay too. But I don't want to leave a bunch of stuff for other people to deal with, and so I've definitely
Hmm.
tried to just be conscious of the fact that if I'm gone tomorrow, what are they going to do with all this? Like, is it really
Hmm.
fair that they have to go through every article of
Hmm.
clothing and decide what to do with it? No, that's
Hmm.
ridiculous. Um, so yeah, I've kind of thought of it from that perspective of just like reducing the burden on other people across all things,
Hmm.
because I have a little bit of an obsession with death. Um, and um, one of the things that, yeah, I'll save that for another time. But yeah, I do have a little bit of an obsession with death. And yeah, I think that's my coping mechanism. So, anyways,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay. So I think we covered that topic pretty well. So, like, um, one thing, so our next topic that we're going to talk about. So, you had mentioned to me that you're starting a new book series. So, talk about that. Share if you're willing, share with the
Yeah.
listeners kind of that part of your sort of space.
Yes. So I'm super excited about this because many years ago, well, for a really long time, I've thought about doing this, and then I didn't actually do anything until like 2019, just before COVID sort of happened. But when I was a kid, I loved those Babysitter Club books, and I read all
Hmm.
those books. And I've always been a little entrepreneur. I've always been all about making money and side hustles and that kind of thing. And so, um, and with my kids, I always like push them to start little businesses and do things like that. They weren't as into it as I would have been, but different generations. They had a different relationship with money than I did. So um, that was different. But it was still always in the back of my mind that I love these Babysitter Club books. And so somewhere, around 2018, 2019, when I was watching Shark Tank and I just kind of like finally decided to do it, I started this series called CEO Girls Club, and it's about girls that are in middle school that start their own little businesses. And so each book is a different little business and then a different little life situation. And, that's it. They're just cute little silly chapter books. They're for
Hmm.
like 8 to 12-year-olds, whatever. So I wrote like 4 or 5 of them, and I put them out there, and then COVID hit, and kids
Hmm.
were all at home, and they were all on Zoom all day, and everything sort of changed. And and then I realized you can't really market to kids. Like you can't run ads for kids.
Yeah.
And also they don't buy them, right? You have to run for the parents to buy. And then, yeah. So I kind of just like didn't really do much with them. I put these books out there. They exist. They're very cute, but I haven't really done anything with them. So now that I've taken some time away, I've decided to revisit them, and I'm going to start and do a couple more of these CEO Girls Club books. But I just love encouraging people of all ages. I mean, our age, I'm always bugging you guys.
Hmm.
We were at dinner
Hmm.
last night with a friend, and I'm trying to get her to start an Etsy store for her little
Hmm.
side hustle. But even as young as, 10 or whatever, as soon as
Hmm.
they understand responsibility and money and
Hmm.
value and working hard and all that kind of stuff, I think it's such a good skill to like, impart on
Hmm.
people to like find their own sources of income. I probably talked about this a lot too, but I just really
Hmm.
love multiple sources of income. And so encouraging kids and in particularly girls to start little businesses and stuff has always been a passion for me. So I'm very
Yes,
excited to
yes.
get these books going again.
I love it. And so it is so true. Like, it's funny when you think about your friends and growing up, and especially since we've known each other for so long and have been best friends for so long, it's like you are someone who is always looking for the side hustle. And I think that's such a great skill. And I was thinking, actually, I was talking about this and I was thinking, like, how how did you learn that? Because we're never ever taught that. Like sometimes you're taught like, oh, go have a lemonade stand, or like we used to have bake sales at school, but now you can't do any of that either. It's like it was so interesting to me. And again, she's 100% truthful here. She like is always trying to help people. Like if you have an idea, she's like, here's how you do it, and she'll help you set it up. And it is such an important skill. I love that you're writing these books because I read a lot about entrepreneurship and like how to be rich and how to not even just rich, but how to like live a comfortable life that you want. And it's always about like having a side income or things like that. And the richest people are usually ones who are business owners. This is something my financial planner told me. And it's like, how do you think you came there? But I always think like if you and I were like young now, the crazy stuff that you would be selling on Etsy, or like I just think about like how crazy it was because it was always we were always doing something. Every job that I have ever had when I was younger was always like Chris would get a job, then I get a job. I actually learned a lot of my like work motivation through you because she would have like 4 or 5 jobs at the same time. She's like, hey, you want to work at a realtor's office? Hey, you want to work at an optometrist's office? Hey, you want to work here? And like so many, I had 3 or 4 jobs because you had 3 or 4 jobs. It was so funny. And so I'm going to pause. I definitely want you to share it because I've never asked you this. Like, where did it come from? Like, why do you think you were? Because I met you so young and you were always like this from like young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, really, I was just very poor. Like literally, we didn't have any money. And so as soon as,
Right.
like, I remember the first babysitting job was I was in third grade when I lived in this town. So I was 8 because
Yeah.
I only lived there for the year that I was third grade in Windsor, California. I was at this little like liquor store kind of thing buying gum or whatever.
Mhm.
And the guy in line behind me said, hey, do you babysit? And I'm like, yeah, I love babies. And he's like, okay, can you babysit tonight? And he happened to live like a couple doors down from me. I don't know if he
Mhm.
had seen me around or something. I mean, I was 8.
Mhm.
And they had a newborn. He was probably 2 or 3 weeks old. And they were going out. And so they hand me this teeny tiny little baby. And they're like, we'll be back in a few hours. And I'm like, okay, that was it. I mean,
That's so
and I got
funny.
$2 an hour. And that
Yeah.
was great. And that was like, people will pay me to hold a baby for 3 hours. Yes,
Yeah.
I am in.
Yes. That is
And
so funny.
so then it was like, somebody mentioned that like they need this help with something. I'll do that. And, they'd give me 5, $10 or whatever. Like I was in it from day
But you were
one.
in it, but it was so interesting because remember, it's really important to like note there wasn't Google. Like you couldn't just search this stuff, but you always found these crazy jobs. Like you were networking before anybody else was networking. So like that realtor job. Remember when I worked
Yeah,
for the
I
real?
do
How'd you
remember.
get that? How did you get us that job?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Do you remember? I don't know.
So I don't remember specifically. It was probably one of two ways. So
Yeah.
either I saw like a flyer with those little tear tags that said call if
Yeah.
you're like, so it was either that, because I did call a lot of those when people were hiring for something,
Yeah.
or so a lot of cities, and probably not so much anymore, but a lot of cities had their like we had the Cupertino Courier. That's where we lived.
Hmm.
There's like a
Hmm.
Palo Alto Weekly is another one that I
Hmm.
used a lot when I was like in college. These like kind of neighborhood or small town newspaper things that
Hmm.
are all classified ads. Basically, it's just
Hmm.
all ads. So I would look through those and look for ads, and it would have like cars for sale, apartments for rent,
Hmm.
jobs, and there was either like regular jobs. I mean, I went through every single
Hmm.
job, and if it was anything, and I would call.
Yeah.
I was that kid
I
who
know
would call.
we had crazy
How
jobs.
old do you
And
have to be?
yeah,
I'm 12. They're like, no, you
yeah,
can't work at my gas station at 12. Sorry, or
yeah,
but
yeah,
I called every single one, and and if it were someone like looking for someone to clean their house, walk their dog, do
yeah,
whatever the
yeah.
thing is, and a lot of times the only people who would hire a 12-year-old girl,
Yeah.
whatever, would be for
Under the
babysitting, right?
counter.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where.
Cleaning. Yeah.
But yeah, this real estate thing, that was just basically some dude wanted us to like cold call, right?
Yeah,
And
we
we
did.
had
We
to
cold
go into
called.
neighborhoods
Yeah.
and say, and which they still do it today, right? You get the, are you
Yeah.
interested in selling your house? No.
Yeah.
Do any of your neighbors want
Yeah.
to sell their house? Do you know anybody who's selling
Yeah.
their house? I mean, that's what we did. And we're supposed to get a commission or whatever. That was a short-lived career, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was literally just classifieds. That's
That's
how
so
it
funny. I
people
don't
used to
think
get
I really
jobs.
do because I definitely never looked through that. But you must have been looking through it and I was just glomming on to whatever successes you had, which is funny because it's like, yeah, they always need somebody extra, like if they're looking for extra. And so I definitely was a glom honor to Chris's stuff, but it worked out like we had really interesting jobs, like probably jobs we shouldn't have
Oh
been
my
doing.
God. Wait, the concerts? We did the
Yes, the concerts.
concessions at
Yes,
San
the
Jose State
concessions we did.
University.
And then we worked at the optometrist office, which we were teaching people to put contact lenses in, which I'm pretty sure you shouldn't have been in high school to do, but you and I did. How'd we do that? Like, there was some funny jobs that we did that were so non-traditional, but we still had the traditional jobs. Like, I did work at I don't know, did you ever work at a clothes store?
Well, we worked at Gymboree together, right? Weren't you
Right.
there for a little bit? The
I was
baby?
there for a little bit and then, but I worked at Red Eye. Did you work at Red Eye?
No, I was at Gymboree was the only, maybe one of the
Clothes
only
store?
retail places I
Okay.
worked, and I never did
Yeah.
food or anything.
The only food I did, if you remember, was my stint at Baskin Robbins.
Yes.
But it's funny, like, yeah, like I said, I always had two or three jobs, and it was same thing. I grew up poor, and like, if you wanted clothes that weren't, 4 years old or weren't a hand-me-down,
Kmart.
it was like
God.
you had like I worked at the clothes store so that I could get the discount. And then it was funny because my sister never did this with us. It was always you and I, and she would just wear my clothes. It was just such a funny, interesting time, and I reflect on that a lot because, like, truthfully, like, in all honesty, some of my work ethic really does come from our
Oh,
relationship because you were such a workaholic, and then I was such a workaholic, and that has manifested in my whole entire life, and it's, like, really funny when you think about that, but Lisa never glommed onto that, like, she worked, but she started much later than us because we were so young. Baskin Robbins, if you remember, wanted to make me a manager. I was 14, I barely got, the work permit thing that they allowed you to work, and they're, like, wanting me to because I was such a stellar worker, they were like, "Oh, do you wanna be a manager?" My parents are like, "No, she cannot work after 10 p.m." It was, like, so crazy, but I was just thinking about that the other day, and we have never talked. I really never
yeah, that
asked
is funny
you
that we've never had this conversation
well, because
before.
it's like, I just assumed, "Oh, Chris, she's the hustler, she's got the job." Like, and it was never question. Like you'd be like, "Oh, do you wanna do this? Oh, are you looking for another job? Oh, do you have time?" And yeah, so I just did these jobs with you. It's so funny. Did you get me when I was in college and I was cleaning that person's house, did you get me that job? I used to go they had to go it was ridiculous. They didn't have a washer and dryer in their house, and I'd have to, like, run to their house, get the clothes that had to wash, go put it down in the laundry room that was not in the townhouse. they'd go clean the house and then switch it over. Like it was a whole big ordeal. It was such a pain in the butt kind of job. And like I'm trying to like run back and forth and time
Yeah.
it. But I
Was
don't
that
know.
someone you babysat for, or like one of your parents' friends? I
It
don't
might have
remember
been. I
that.
don't remember how I got this job, but I was doing it in college and I ended
Was
up,
it near your college, like up
yeah, it
the
was pretty
peninsula? Okay,
close.
yes,
Yeah. But remember, I went back to Long's and I was still, my
yeah.
freshman year, I went back and was still doing the pharmacy stuff. So I was working that and the cleaning job and then the job at the school. I don't know. It was just, anyway, I was just thinking about it and it was like, yeah. So to our listeners, she, this is like out of the gate, she's always been an entrepreneur. And like as more data became available, she's just been more and more creative with the things that she did. So
And now I'm
um
putting them into books for other
yes, for others.
for
But
kids to get
but that was the
ideas.
point. I love it because if you don't have a Christina in your life, how and your parents are not entrepreneurial because my parents were not entrepreneurial. I don't think your mom was necessarily entrepreneurial. Like how do you learn that? Like how do you, it's like I love the motivational part of that of these books to like actually teach them some stuff about this or get them motivated or put that in their headspace because that is not historically what is taught to us in school, right? No, like we don't really have a class that tells
Well,
you,
maybe historically it was,
yeah,
but today it is not. I mean, and
yeah,
even with my own kids, I mean, I didn't want them to get a job when they were in high school because
yeah.
they
It was
didn't
so
need to,
hard.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I was
also,
able to give
yeah,
them
what they
what they
needed.
needed, and I wanted them to do sports and scouting and the other
Yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
so they didn't. That wasn't part of their life. But at the point that they got to, career wise, then it was like, okay, you need to be thinking about what's going to make money, what's always going to be
yeah,
needed, where's the value,
yeah,
how do you
yeah,
learn to be the
yeah.
most important person in
Hmm.
the room, and as far as when there's layoffs or when there's
Hmm.
changes, like how do you
Yeah.
make
Stay
sure that
relevant.
you're going to
Yeah,
be the
yeah,
last one standing.
yeah. No,
um
it's good.
but yeah, I mean, for me, I ended up after, all the different things, I ended up in a career that is notoriously terrible for job stability, and I get laid off all the time. So,
But that being said, though, you do have you always have other
but I have
hustles.
all the
So
other stuff.
yeah, and so like you have continuity and no matter what you do and like I don't know, I think that's so important and teaching that is so important. And I did the same thing honestly to my kids probably not greatness is I also didn't have them have jobs. They were lifeguards and they kind of babysat, but not really because they really fundamentally didn't need it. And the same thing, I wanted them to do the sports and be involved and like have a childhood because we spent so much of our time working. Like we really did. I was forced to do a lot of sports. So I was trying to like do the sports, get the grades, do the church stuff, like all the things and have jobs because none of that gave me side money, which my family didn't have. So it was like, yeah, it was very I didn't do that with my kids. And now I'm going to talk about my kids, but they're good. But they definitely have a different motivation whereas your boys much it's like your entrepreneurship is very much reflected in your children and I didn't do that and now I think but I have sent my kids to give you ideas about what things they want to do and I would say my younger one is a little bit of a hustler because she definitely is always trying to like make a side hustle but I love it. Basically, the bottom line is I think that this is great. I hope that readers who have kids in this age like check them out. And if you have ideas about this, like Chris is a great writer, like like put those topics into a book and how do we teach the next generation about the importance of this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Shark Tank is, I think, a really good motivator too. Like if you
Yeah.
want any sort of hinted, if you have any sort of entrepreneurial bone in your body, watching
Yeah.
Shark Tank will
Yeah.
just like
Helps.
make it come
Yeah.
alive because I watched so many episodes and at the end of it, it's like, okay, I have a new idea. I just thought of
Yeah.
something. And then
Yeah.
I go off and, build a website, whatever. Okay. So that is what I've been playing with lately. All right. So what are you loving lately, Lori?
Yes. So this is I'm just on theme today. So the purging, like, so I talked a little bit about it. I'm talk about it. I'm sure I'll talk about it later. It's too raw to talk about it too much, but I had a leak in my house. I had to have some repairs. Because of that, there was some rug damage, so I had to pull up my furniture had to go out of my house, so I had to pack up everything, blah, 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 the whole deal. And in packing up my stuff, I really realized I think I talked about this before. I hadn't even opened a drawer. I hadn't even opened the drawer in 7 years. Why do I have that stuff? Like, why do I have that stuff? So something I'm loving lately, and I'm gonna be full disclosure, like it's a slow process, but like really purging the stuff that is so not necessary. I don't want to like my plan is to move. I've mentioned that before. I'm not moving this stuff and nobody wants it. And I really am loving the freedom of that. Like a lot of my drawers are empty. My one entire closet, I have two closets in my room. One is entirely empty. I love it. Like I feel
That
very,
sounds
uh,
amazing. I would love
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like just getting rid of stuff. I had 1,800 freaking sheets. You don't need this many sheets. Like I don't know. I do think, and we can talk about that in a later podcast. I do think that growing up poor, 100% is one of the reasons that as you get money over time, like you do sometimes get excessive with things. You're like, oh, well, I can have four sheets. But when you step back, you're like, it's not making up for how I grew up. It doesn't change that. And really, those are not the things that bring joy. Like the things that bring joy are traveling with your friends and spending time and like your kids and those things. And it's like really like letting that stuff go. You're kind of almost letting go of like, you know, the things you didn't have and really reflecting on that. So I am loving getting rid of stuff. What about you?
Yes. Well, I mean, of all the things that I ever talk about loving, it's usually a TV show.
Yes, you are a TV
Yes.
girl, TV
Sadly,
girly.
it's yet another show that I love. So we started watching Paradise last night on Hulu. This was a recommendation from Lori's sister, actually, and it's very interesting and coming off of Pluribus and a couple other shows I've seen recently. Um, it was a very timely show. But if you, yeah, it's kind of a thriller, I guess, maybe drama. I don't know. We've only watched one episode, so I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I don't know if there's like a romantic element or whatever's going to happen, but um, I sad, a little bit scary. I don't know, a little bit doomsday, I guess, but it's
Yeah.
very interesting. So that's what I am loving right now.
Yes, I also did love that. We watched that first episode last night, and I did. It's so that's another show I think we're gonna love, like Pluribus. And again, we'll wait for all of these. We'll wait a little bit to like talk about details, but I do eventually want to talk about in detail Pluribus, and I bet we're gonna want to talk about
Spoilers.
Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll definitely full disclosure that if we're going to talk about those topics. But I want to because there's a lot of themes in them that I want to dig into together. I don't I'm still taking that class. I don't have anything else to add and I don't think that I'm learning I don't know. I don't know what I'm learning right now. So,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
that's fair. I am so kind of piggybacking on my last learning, which was manifestation, I think was
Mhm.
what I said. So I was looking for something that I did recently that I couldn't find, but now I have found it. So now I will talk about it. So right, maybe a month or two ago, during my most recent layoff, when I had a little bit of open time, I was looking for some like sleep hypnosis or sleep manifestation audiobooks because I like to sleep with the person droning very monotonously in my ear, and that's how I sleep. So I was looking for some of those, and I found a ton of them, and I couldn't really, I bought a couple, I didn't love them, whatever. So I decided I'm just going to make one. So I made one, and it's not great. I listen to it actually every night, and it puts me to sleep. The difference is, and I don't know if this is good or bad. Like most of the ones that I've heard are in um second person POV. So it's like you are very tired, you are relaxed, you are rich, money loves you, like I don't know, whatever all the things are. I decided to do mine in first person. So it says I am very relaxed. I wealth loves me, money comes to me, blah blah blah, all the different things. And so I don't know if that's better or worse. Like when I'm falling asleep, and I'm listening to it, I think I like it in first person, the I, but I'm actually not sure yet if I need to like do a little bit of research to figure out if that's the a better way or not a better way. I don't know. But anyway, so this thing exists. If you're curious, it's really funny. It's millionaire-vision.com, millionairevision.com, and with the hyphen. And you can buy my audio book for $4.99, and it's me talking about wealth manifestation, and it's actually the because it's designed to for when you're sleeping. It's like the intro that's supposed to put you to sleep, and then the messages like the affirmations, and they're just repeated over and over and over for like an hour and a half. And I set it up to like loop, so it's really kind of a very random thing, and I don't know if I'm doing it right. So this is what I'm continuing to learn, and I need to do some research on like the best way to like set up my own manifestations. But
Yes.
that's kind of a funny thing.
I love it. I wonder if we could set up something like is I don't know if this is what it does, but like somebody comes to you and tells you what their manifesting things are, then you take their voice, you can AI their voice and make them their own I or they or we or whatever they want to do for them.
Yeah,
That would be
for
interesting.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do have an AI voice generator, and I started with that.
Yeah.
So I wrote all
Yeah.
the things out,
And then
and
it
I
did
had
you.
the AI do it, but there was some things like the timing wasn't right. It was too fast, or like I couldn't
Oh,
get the timing and the pauses the way I wanted them to. So then finally I just did it
yeah.
myself. And because I
Yeah.
repeated it, like I only recorded
Yeah.
like six
You
minutes
could
and then I
just,
just
yeah,
like
loop it.
duplicated it 20
But we
times. So
definitely want to check back in a little while and get your conclusion on whether it's good or not. Because she definitely, that's the other joke in our group. If you ever travel with Chris, she's always going to play her, we call her the lady, but it's not
yes,
Chris. I haven't heard Chris's yet. She sent it to me and I haven't had a chance to listen to it. But there's always the lady, and she just plays the lady, and the lady plays
just
with you in
talking in
your
my
hotel
ear,
room.
putting me to
Well, or
sleep.
sometimes out. Sometimes we let her just play out, and you can hear the lady, and it's very soothing.
I
Very
mean, the
good.
idea is for it to be very boring so you fall asleep and
Yes,
stay asleep,
yes,
but
yes, yes,
and then like absorb through osmosis these
yes,
affirmations of abundance
yes.
and wealth and health. So mine is health, wealth, and happiness. That's what I'm
I
trying to
love it.
convey. Those are the
I
most
love it.
important things in that order, right? Health first, because no
Yes,
amount of money
yes,
can buy your health if you, yeah, so health first.
absolutely.
But yeah, so that's kind of fun.
I
Okay.
love it.
So last but not least, what, if anything, are you leaving behind this time?
I am working to establish boundaries. So, what I want to leave behind is this concept of tying my value to availability. So, something I'm super guilty of is always saying yes. We talked a little bit about this before. So, it's nuanced to one of my things before, but I love to say yes. I think I have to say yes. And even in a situation today, I'm struggling to say no when I know no is the right thing, but I'm still saying yes. Um, I don't always need to be the one to handle things. And I don't always have to be the person that people call when things go sideways. So I don't know exactly how to, articulate that I'm leaving this behind, but
Like
I
control, maybe?
right, control. And so, you know, I want to establish boundaries in like a deep and quiet way. So like I don't want to respond immediately. This is not neglectful. I have to be respectful of my own time. Other people have to be respectful of my time. If I can't take this on, I need to stop saying yes. Rest is not recovery from weakness. I don't know. And then again, with boundaries, like access to me has to be earned and not assumed. And this goes with my kids, my family, friends. Mostly, I don't have a situation with my friends, to be honest. Like, I feel like that's one beautiful part of getting older is like for some reason, we do establish boundaries with our friends more so than we do, like our best friends, more so than we do with anybody else. And so,
Yeah, the
yeah,
people
so that's,
closest to you versus like the random people that you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like you have to
So,
always be there for.
yeah, yeah. And that no is a complete sentence. Like, I'm really trying to learn that. So that's it. So I'm just trying to set boundaries, not seeing it as withdrawal, but seeing it like wisdom and learning about myself and how I want to like do that and manifest that. So what about you? What are you leaving behind and maybe learning from the leaving behind? I don't know.
Yeah. My plan was to say pass because I couldn't really think of anything I was leaving behind right
Yes.
now. But as we were talking, I realized there
Yeah.
is something that I am leaving behind this
Yeah.
week, at least in
Yes.
the short term, and that is my
Yes.
workout schedule. Usually, I try to work out, go to my
Yes.
kickboxing every,
Yes.
a couple times a week,
Yeah.
and try to go running a couple times a week. This week is just busy. We did the run the
Yeah.
other day. You're in town. I want to
Yeah.
spend time with
Yeah.
you. I've
Yeah.
got other stuff going on. I'm just not going to even try to make it work out this week. And next week
Yeah.
we'll start again.
Yeah.
So
And that's
that is what
okay.
I'm leaving behind.
Yeah. And that is totally fine. Like that's a boundary. So I
Yes.
don't know. I love it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us again and hanging with us today. Go out and do something fun or don't leave behind anything you don't want to do. And
Yeah.
if you want us to talk about something specific in a future episode or just to catch up on past episodes, visit midlifegroupchat.com and reach out to us. And we will catch you next time.
Yep.
All
See
right.
ya.
Bye.
Thanks.